to see the way you move in us. You work.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Tragedy into Triumph podcast. Wendell Brown here, founder of Tragedy into Triumph. And we know that each one of us go through difficulties in our life. Some are easier to overcome than others. But one tragedy for some can be the Christmas season. Maybe it's because of family issues or loss or addiction or financial struggles, you name it. Sometimes the Christmas holiday season can be very difficult, can be tragic in our lives. So Tammi is with me today. Say hi, Tam. That was an enthusiastic Christmas hi right there. And we'll dive in, but we're blessed today to have two of our great friends in our lives that we've known for a number of years. And the reason that I asked them to join us today is because of their individual expertise and even their own story, what God has done in their life. So we're joined by Sean and Jamie Hampton. And Sean and Jamie, I'm just going to let y'all introduce yourselves and tell our audience a little bit about yourselves.
All right. Well, my wonderful wife told me I had to go first. So I am Sean Hampton. I'm a full-time pastor and a part-time Army chaplain. I have been doing that. Let's see, I've been pastoring full-time for 13 years. I've been a chaplain for about 8 of those years. Have many years, 30 years now, over 30 years in the military, and over almost, let's see, 22, 23 years in and around the church. But I pastor a small church, smallish church that actually has 2 campuses. So all the struggles that go with that, multi-generational in Northeast Ohio. And so it's very cold, or getting colder. But yeah, love it. Love every bit of it.
Awesome. Jamie?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jamie Hampton. I'm Sean's wonderful wife. I'm just kidding.
I love the emphasis.
She's a
wonderful wife.
We're blessed to have each other. So, I mean, I'm a wife and a mom and a pastor's wife. And for a living, I am a licensed professional clinical counselor in the state of Ohio. So I have my independent license to counsel, and I have my own practice. So I enjoy doing that daily. I work pretty much 5 days a week, seeing clients from 5 years old all the way up to, however old they want to come in and talk, but deal with various different things like anxiety, depression, trauma, grief, all those kind of things. So I've been doing that for about 10 years total, but I've had my own practice now for almost 4 years. So that's kind of cool. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. And I know that you do a great job, even as I talk to people that I know that have been the recipient of your care. They're always so grateful for your concern and care for their life, which is really part of the reason why I wanted you to come and talk to our audience. So if from both of your perspectives, sometimes Christmas is, we hear Frosty the Snowman and all the fun songs that are on the radio, and Mariah Carey singing again and again and again, and yet sometimes Christmas really isn't fun for everybody. I just thought it might be good for our audience, because there are people who listen who struggle with things in their life, and I thought it might be good for them to hear it's okay. Everybody, comes to a point maybe where they have some issues with the holidays. So, in both of your areas of expertise, why do you think the Christmas season can be so difficult for people?
Well, I think for myself, it is for various reasons. Family stuff, like what you said at the beginning, family issues, death, the loss of someone, but like the loss of a job, moving. I mean, there's just lots of different health issues, things like that play a part in it. I actually just did a devotion for our adult Christmas party at church, talking just about this because I felt like God really placed it on my heart just to tell people like it is okay to struggle and to feel sad. And, this is like the happiest time of year. That's what we hear a lot, but some people it's not, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she said, people go through major life changes, and while they learn to cope with it throughout the year, when you come into the holidays, the culture shifts all around us, especially, in the church, decorations are up, songs change, everything in life seems to be in a place where you're supposed to be uplifted, but you're still dealing with those major life changes, especially like she said, loss and, or kids growing up, first Christmas without kids, or first Christmas without a loved one. All of those things just hammering people because it's just in your face all the time. Every time you hear a song or see a new Hallmark movie or whatever else it is, that we all love the Christmas movies. But then,
Do we?
do we? No,
we do.
I was paid to say that I do. But and then you show up at a church and you're hearing messages and everything about joy and peace and love and hope, and you put a plastic smile on and because everybody seems to have it all figured out except for you, but you're hurting, and maybe you struggle to be able to tell anybody about it because everything's supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah. That's a good point. So when we're busy in this season talking about hope, can I experience hope if I don't feel it? Can I realize hope if I don't feel that emotion in my life? What do you think?
Sorry, I had
a lot of silence there. Sean was coughing, everyone.
I'm muted so that I didn't scare everybody. I think absolutely you can. And from a pastor who gets the chance to speak into, hopefully speak into people's lives, at least for a few minutes each week, that gentle reminder, or sometimes not so gentle, that our hope is not in any of our circumstances. Our hope is not in anything of this world. And while our circumstances pressure us and, we hurt even to put one foot in front of the other, a reminder that it's temporary, reminder that through Christ, if you know Christ, then your ultimate hope is that someday this will all pass, and we won't have any more tears. We won't have any more struggles. That's one thing, to remind people of. But sometimes it's a little short-lived because you walk away from a church service and get right back into your life, and you have to do everything you can to hold on to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So not to plug your book, Wendell, but
oh no.
but I'm doing this for my Sunday school class, and we literally just did the chapter on the hope effect. And so like that, I mean, just to echo Sean, and then, just your book, like if you have a relationship with Christ, then because of his promises, because, we definitely have hope. So even in those difficult times, we have hope that's different than the world's hope. So, I mean, it probably is harder for people who don't have that relationship to feel like they're experiencing hope. But I definitely, if you're a believer, then I do believe that you can, have hope in the worst of circumstances.
Absolutely. And it's not misplaced or displaced.
Mm-hmm.
It's hope in the God who can do things we can't. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, I thought it might be interesting for us. So this is a curveball, ladies and gentlemen, because I gave them like a list of things we might talk about. We're going to go off course right now. It's going to be awesome. So
I knew I should have read your book.
What'd you say?
I knew I should have read your book. So I would.
Hey, Sean, let me ask you. No, so if you had to think about, I just had this thought, and Tammi, think about this too. If you had to think about, okay, Sean and Jamie have 3 wonderful children. we have four wonderful children because we wanted to outdo them, I guess. I don't
Right,
know.
yeah.
But we so we've had a lot of good Christmases and great memories that we can look back on. But I'm curious, is there a Christmas that stands out in your mind as not being very good?
Yeah, I
Jamie,
have
what you
two.
got?
I have two. December of 2006, my grandmother passed away on December 4th of 2003. Sorry, no, 2003. So this has been 20 years this year. And Christmas was a big deal for her. She made Christmas a big deal for us and stuff. And so she passed away in the hospital. And then, Christmas came right after that. And then my second Christmas, which you guys probably already know what I'm going to say, but in 2006 on Christmas Eve, Kelly passed away. And so those, every year when Christmas rolls around, those are two things that
Yeah.
pop into my head. I mean, like Sean's been deployed, and he might say, I might be stealing his answer. He's been deployed over Christmas a couple times. So that's, not been great either. So.
And for everybody that doesn't know, Kelly was a friend of ours who died of breast cancer at 34. And it's interesting. We just mentioned hope. There was a song that was played at her funeral called "The Christmas Hope."
Mm-hmm.
Just about every time I think of that song or hear that song, I think of Kelly.
Yeah.
And how there really is hope. So, Sean, anything come to mind for you?
Wow, how do I follow that? Actually, I did think about the deployments, spending, I think we were together the second deployment when I was on leave, but right before I left the country. But two different times I was separated from family, friends, and everyone in Iraq, trying to celebrate Christmas in a combat zone. But that kind of passed real quick. And I thought, just about every Christmas from the time that my mother remarried and we moved to Virginia, where the rest of my family was in Tennessee. And you would think it would be great. We'd look forward to Christmas because we'd pack everything up from Richmond and head to Nashville and get to see family, get to see my biological father. But always in the back of my mind was the knowledge that I was going to be leaving them again. And Jamie knows about this, but I would just weep and wail as we drove away from their house, my dad's house, knowing I wasn't going to see him for another 5 or 6 months. And so that was very traumatic for me as a child, and really struggled with that separation. And Jamie's done a great job for the past 26 years making every Christmas great. So don't carry that with me anymore. But I think that was probably the worst aspect that I can think of that had to do with Christmas.
That's good. I think those kinds of examples actually do speak to our audience. Yeah, like for me, being in the service, and I remember being 18 and my first time away from home, and like, man, really feeling lonely. Like one of my sergeants asked us over, and he had this thing. I was just finished training. He had like this get together for Christmas and invited a bunch of us over. And I just remember being really sad that it was nothing like what I had remembered Christmas being as a kid, right? Mm-hmm. And really feeling alone and separated. And then probably for Tammi and I, one that sticks out for both of us might be, and I'll just get real for everybody for just a second, might be, when we're adults in 2008, my father gets arrested. And this guy that had been kind of my hero growing up gets arrested, and life has changed. And I remember asking him to come home. He didn't go to jail or anything, but it was egregious what he did. And I remember asking him to come to our place for Christmas Day and stay with us, he and my mom. And I just remember thinking, like, this is not right. None of this is right. And I tried to put on a good face, but it was a tough Christmas for us. trying to be Jesus, trying to show love, trying to do the right things, but it was really hard. And in the midst of all the hope and all that came together later, but in the moment, man, it was difficult. So I think we just want everybody to know that there are difficulties out there, and it's okay. It really is okay to be honest about struggling. I don't, as we kind of look at what this season is, I thought it might be interesting for us, maybe to just kick the tires around a few things like family issues. We're all going to put up with Uncle Buck and Aunt Edna or whoever at Christmas, and we're going to eat turkey like in Christmas Vacation, right? That's burnt or whatever else, and buy dog food or whatever else for Cousin Eddie. But family issues are a big thing, especially as we gather, because family can be the greatest asset in our life, and it can also be the greatest detriment in our life too, right? Yeah. And people carry a lot of hurt from family. So anything from either of your perspectives around family issues, maybe even abusive parents that you're all of a sudden trying to figure out as an adult, how do I navigate this, or even maybe fractured relationships with a brother or sister, or any of that. Any thoughts there from either of you?
Go ahead.
Oh, you always here. Yeah, I mean, like, I just think, obviously, so I have to put my therapist hat on when it's anything like that. Like, I definitely work on this with clients a lot. You have to, I mean, let them talk about it, and what's the issue. I mean, if it's something that is is going to be harmful to them, maybe they don't go, that year to celebrate. Maybe like we've come up with plans of, you're going to go visit, Uncle Bob, and he's asked all kinds of questions, or maybe something happened, like come up with a plan with your family. What's a code word, right? You're there. We're going to spend at least an hour. So we can handle an hour. When I say, Christmas turkey, we're getting out of here or something, when there's something that comes up, but if it happens before that hour, but at an hour, we've agreed as a family that we're going to excuse ourselves, and like, that's okay. So like, it's okay to limit your time with family. That doesn't make you like a bad person, but it's also okay not to go at all. Like if you feel like you can't handle that, like that's as good as well, so like just checking in with yourself and setting good boundaries, but having a plan is like a really helpful thing too. So that way you're not ambushed or whatever.
That's good. It's interesting you mentioned like the code word. Tammy, what's that movie that has that in it? Four Christmases.
Oh yeah, it is. It's Four Christmases. Yeah, it is Four Christmases.
Mistletoe. So right. Like often Tammy and I, if we're in awkward situations, we'll look at each other and go, mistletoe.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, fractured relationships, it really made me think, going back to how people try to put on a face at Christmas. Some families just have drama, but some families, there's an expectation when you come together, everything has to be right. And I know in my family, we're on the outside looking at, my brother, my sister, and their spouses, or our kids, or whatever, and we don't really know what's going on when we come together as a family, and to find out within just a couple of weeks or months or something that they're splitting up. What is that doing, to children that are involved? What is that doing to, people that want to be there for them? If they were able to just say, hey, we're hurting, is your family a safe place where you can sit down at a gathering like that when it's supposed to be joyous? And, are you close enough with your kids or your siblings or something to say, hey, how is your marriage? Are you doing okay? And maybe it's from my background of a broken family, a split family, where my parents they did everything they could to try to make Christmas as best as possible. But in reality, my dad and my mom and dad and my step parents, they like hated each other. We never saw it as kids, thankfully. But what kind of stuff like that's going on behind the scenes, and how is it affecting people? And how do you make the best of bad situations?
Yeah, that's good. Tammi, you were going to say something. Okay,
I don't think she wants to say anything.
I don't think you want to say anything. There we go.
Lean over to the mic.
Go.
I was just going to thank Jamie for saying that it's okay not to, if your family's the type that you just can't be around, if it's going to hurt you, that it's okay not to go. Because we ran into that a lot with my family, and I didn't have a code word. I just looked at Wendell and said, I'm ready to go. Let's go. So, but I got better at that. But, sometimes family is difficult to be around. And I think that's why God sends good friends in our lives that become like family to us.
Yeah, honestly, it's even with addiction, right? How many people on their own, like the cycle of addiction in families, and so they're up on their own. I'm making it, and then I've got to go home, and then the next thing you know, I'm back struggling again, right? Christmas is one of those moments where I feel this tug and this pull to be there for my family, but at the same time, I also need to thrive myself, and it's difficult to go back, right?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of pressure. I think that people put pressure on, that's your parents, or you have to do that, and that's so not true. Definitely pray about it, and definitely, don't be selfish. Check yourself. Are you not going because it's really going to hurt you, or are you going because you're being a stinker? So you have to figure that part of it out. But if you can be honest with yourself and you realize it really is going to affect you, like you're talking about with addiction, that's huge. Sorry, I can't come home this year because of that. So
yeah, I think one of the things that really sets tragedy into triumph apart is the understanding that through God anything is possible, right? That truly anything is possible. If we don't believe that, we probably shouldn't believe in God, because he's the one that said anything is possible. It wasn't us. Even at Christmas, anybody that's struggling, I just want to remind you that when the angel appeared to Mary, he just said to her, Mary, nothing's impossible with God. Nothing, right? So even in the midst of loss or struggles during the holidays, or depression or anxiety, or even health diagnosis, it's also a difficult season. We haven't even touched on this. This would be a whole nother podcast. How difficult the holidays can be, because people want to get their surgeries in before their insurance recycles again on January 1, right? I know a lot of people right now that I'm associated with that are all having surgeries, and they're trying to get them all in before the holidays. So, or the dentist. So, you got all the family coming, and then, my husband can't move for 6 weeks either. So, there's just all these different dynamics. So, but the thing that separates us is our belief in Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. So for both of you, well, if you were providing counsel to someone and they come to you with the struggles or the tragedies of life, how do you give encouragement to them that they can make it through the Christmas season? So whoever wants to go first, how do you bring encouragement to them?
Well, I think one thing is listening. So I try so hard to really validate what somebody's going through and really listen to, just to kind of give them that space to talk. Because when I first started counseling and people would come in with grief, I remember leaving and going to my supervisor and saying I am terrible at this, because that person just sat in my office and cried the whole time, and I didn't even know what to say. And she was like, you just listened. And that's the greatest thing that you can do for them, is just listen and create a safe space for them to talk. So that's one part of it. And it takes a while, right? So somebody would come in and share memories. I'm always bring your photos in and let's look through all that. And I'm going to cry with you probably, because you're going to share some great memories. And so by doing that, when they share those memories, that helps them remember the good times also. And so that can be encouraging, in those moments, like just even saying it's okay to cry, and it's okay to feel sad, and it's okay to be angry, or whatever feeling that you're having. I think that kind of brings encouragement. So for me, it's just like listening to the person and creating a space for them to talk and share about their loved one, because maybe they haven't been able to do that in another space. And so I find that helps encourage them.
That's good. That's good.
Man, she knows what she's talking about, doesn't she?
Sean, you have a smart wife, man.
I do.
And by the way, so do I. So do I.
We do.
We do.
Wow. God knew what he was doing. I was thinking, coming back from a deployment, I spent last Christmas in Iraq. And one of the things that I got to do as a chaplain was what's called reintegration training with soldiers. And one of the biggest things about reintegration was preparing to go home, preparing for all of the change that you're going to go through, preparing for the unexpected. And when it comes to, trying to help somebody, maybe something we can do, especially in the church and especially as pastors who kind of have an inside track usually on what's going on in people's lives, is we can be more intentional about helping them to be prepared for what they don't know is going to come. If it's family troubles or whatever, we can talk to them as couples. If it's they experienced a loss, it's a first Christmas, it's going to be different. We're more intentional as a church, as the body of Christ, in coming behind them and saying, hey, I know this is going to be hard for you, and I just want you to know you're not alone. Maybe it's helping them find a different purpose throughout Christmas. Well, I always did this with my wife or my husband during Christmas, and now she's not going to be here. Well, let me help you find a different purpose in God's mission, so you can carry on and honor that loved one. Maybe it's, I know it's going to be hard because, I'm recovering alcoholic, and I'm going to be around family that's drinking, or, brandy and eggnog, whatever else it is. And maybe you help give them, an extra push to think through how they're going to handle those things. And as a church, that gives them hope, and shows them love and understanding for whatever their situation is. I think when it comes to the church, we tend to fail people because we get so wrapped up in all the extra events and everything else that we tend to forget about the individual issues and life stressors people are going through. Yeah,
that's really good. I think that is good advice. Both of you, great advice. Sometimes I think too, good people want to help people. We want to include them. We don't want anybody to feel alone. We want everybody to feel loved and welcomed. And sometimes people genuinely do just want to be alone. Mm-hmm. And that may be the best thing for them in the moment. I want to say to anybody, maybe you're kind of thinking, well, I've got a family member or I've got a neighbor or a friend that I know or coworker that's really struggling right now, and I'm not quite sure what to do for them. Let me just give you some encouragement. Do exactly what Jamie said. Just listen to them. Rarely do people remember what you say, but they always remember if you were there. They always remember that. So sometimes you can be the greatest source of someone's hope by just showing up and listening. And you don't have to have a solution for their problem, right? Yeah. That's an important piece. So I learned that as a husband once when Tammi was telling me something and I was going to solve it. And she, I'll never forget it, Tammi, you grabbed my cheeks and said, I don't need you to solve my problem. I need you to listen to me. And she didn't slap my cheek. She grabbed my, I pay attention to me. So I want to make sure I'm clear there. Yeah. Well, those were all great pieces of advice. If you were to offer any other advice or any other action steps, what would it be? Anything at all?
One thing, like, talking about getting together with people, and some of my clients think this is a little crazy, but like, you know how when something happens and somebody asks you, like, somebody passed away, right? What happened? And so you tell the story. And then so now you think, like, I've done that with my friends and I've done that with people. Now I've got to go to this function and I've got to repeat the same thing over and over again. And so I have said, like, write it on a note card, and like, even you can even get fancy and type it up and hand it out to everybody. Like, if it's somebody that, if it's family or something, send it in a card, like, type it up and mail a card to all your family members and be like, this is what I've gone through this year. This is what I'm struggling with. I don't really want to talk about it at Christmas gathering, but I wanted you guys to know, like, if I'm down or struggling, like, this is what it is. I mean, I know that's kind of an extreme example, but that could really help, where you're not having to feel like, I got to go there and put this face on, because if I act sad, I'm going to bring everybody else down, or I've got to repeat myself like 5,000 times to tell the story, and that could even take some, like, pressure off of you to go and just be like, everybody already knows, and I can just be however I need to be. And that's okay. Like, right. If that's angry, sad, whatever. So
I like that. Like, we have friends that lost a daughter, and Tammi and I invited them over for a card game. And before they got there, we were like, we're not asking them one question about it, nothing. Mm-hmm. We're just going to play cards and have a good night and just try to make them laugh and enjoy. And when they left, they said, they said, thank you so much for not talking about it. Like, we just needed to switch gears in our minds for a minute. Right. Yeah. So it really is normalcy. Okay. Yeah. So it really is okay, I think, for us who want to help. You don't even have to solve their problems, right? Just listen and create a space for them to just exist. And if they want to join in, laugh and be a part. If not, that's okay too, right?
Yeah. And I think too, somebody who's going through it. So, like, that's on the outside, right? How we can help, but somebody who's struggling too, like, remember to take care of yourself. Remember, if you need, like you said earlier, if you need to be alone, that's okay to be alone. But check in with yourself. Like, am I being alone too much? Do I need to be around somebody, kind of a thing. So, the other thing is, if you know somebody that's struggling, check in on them yourself. Don't just be like, call me if you need something, because if somebody's having a hard time, they're likely not going to call, so it's good just to kind of check in, like, hey, just thinking about you today. You don't have to really say anything major, but just to know, like, that you care. Sometimes that's helpful too when somebody's going through a difficult time.
That's great.
Yeah, I'll add to that. There's a difference between solitude as self-care and isolation because of depression.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
If you want my other advice, I'm going to trump everything, and I'm just going to say there's power in the name of Jesus.
Amen to that.
No matter what you're going through, no matter what you're facing, man, that name changes things. It changes our hearts. It changes our emotions. It changes everything. And, when you have nothing else to say, don't want to say anything else, just say that name. And even if you don't have the words, then, man, it just testing. I mean, put it to the test, because that's God's promises, and he will not let you down with the name of Jesus.
That's good. That's good. For nothing is impossible with him. Nothing.
Right.
Right.
So we talked about a difficult Christmas. Let's leave people on a meaningful note. So, most meaningful Christmas you can remember.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. Hurry up.
I don't know. I'm thinking.
Yeah, this was a real curveball.
What'd you say?
I said every Christmas with my wife.
Oh my goodness. That was cheating. I think, okay, so at the time I didn't realize that this was like a memorable Christmas or like a really good Christmas, but now it is, because in 2019 was the last time that all of my children were together, all of our children were together with us at Christmas. So I have had all the children together again, right? When Connor just got married in September, all the kids were home and we were all 5 together. But like for Christmas in 2019 was the last time that all 3 of our children have been with us for Christmas. So I didn't realize it then, but now that's super memorable.
Yeah, that's good too, which does say something for each of us as we come into this Christmas season, whether we're on a high or a low. If we're on a low, remember it won't always be there. There is hope in the name of Jesus. If you're on a high and you're at this great point in your life, then bottle that moment up and thank God for it, because you're never going to get it back. You're not, I mean, you're not going back to 2019 again, right? We need to hold on to those moments.
Yeah.
Sean, what do you got? Meaningful Christmas.
Can't remember exactly the year. I'd say it was probably 2007, 2008. But when, like many people, when our kids were little, we lived in Ohio. Our family lived in Tennessee. And so we would take off and, well, no, it was before that. I'm sorry. I'm mixing up my dates. We lived in Tennessee, but we lived an hour away from family. And so my father celebrated Christmas on Christmas Eve. My mother celebrated Christmas mid-morning, Christmas morning, and then grandparents in the afternoon. And so we had multiple trips of an hour or more one way of loading up 3 small children to go to every family event. And we finally made the decision that we were not going to get stressed out on Christmas. And so I think it was, Jamie, you can correct me, it was probably 2007, 2008 when Cole was 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
And we just said, no, we are going to be home and we're going to enjoy Christmas Day with our family. And so the first time we did that, it just it changed the entire dynamic of Christmas for our family as a whole.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Tammi, what do you got? I can.
Oh, we can't hear. That's okay.
But I was just saying, we started that pretty early, just staying home, not going anywhere. But I keep thinking, and it hasn't happened yet, but I know my most memorable will be this year, just because Abby and Joseph weren't able to come, and last minute, with some change of plans, they're coming. So this will probably be the last Christmas that we're all together. Well, we got a good day to 2 days, so I'm really looking forward to that.
That's awesome. I would say the most meaningful Christmas for me is when, as a kid with our kids, and it was when we lived in Tennessee. I remember we bought all 4 kids. They were at the age we were able. We were actually like selling things to make a little extra money, to have the money, and we bought them all 4 Nintendo DSs when that was a big thing, right?
Uh-huh.
And they all wanted one, and they all thought it wasn't happening for them, because we hid them, we saved them till the end. And one of our kids, I won't say which one of them started actually crying and was like, oh, we didn't get, and it was this moment. And there's a point to this. And then we kind of pulled them out, and they all, excited like any kid would be at getting something that they truly wanted for Christmas. But why that is meaningful to me is like that was the first time where I really felt like, as a dad, I could provide what my kids needed or wanted, that I could, I actually had the ability to give them something that really meant something to them. And I know I'm not pointing to materialism. I'm saying, as a father, what a privilege it was to give those gifts to my kids, right?
Yeah.
Because it was so special to them. So the thing I think about at Christmas for me is we have a Father in heaven who the word says knows how to give good gifts to his kids, right? So for anybody listening, whatever you're lacking this Christmas season, don't ever miss the point that you've got a Father in heaven who knows how to give you a good gift. And if you'll open your heart, if you'll look to him, the word says if you'll seek him with all your heart, there's a good gift he's got for you in this season of hope that he wants you to unwrap, and don't you dare miss it. Don't miss it, because this Christmas can be, in 2023, the most memorable Christmas you've ever had. So thanks Sean and Jamie for joining us and for being a part of this. And Tammi, thanks for being here too. So
Thanks for having us.
I want a Nintendo DS for Christmas.
It's
but
funny.
I want games too. I mean, did you actually get them games to go with it?
No, it was just the DS with the. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
they didn't ask for games.
It was one game.
They had to share.
hey, they're all over Facebook Marketplace. You can find Nintendo DSs.
There you go.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Hey, to everybody listening, Merry Christmas to you. And again, thanks for being a part of this podcast and being a part of Tragedy and Triumph. Just after the new year, JJ Weeks will be joining us. And you can look for that to be released just in the new year. And then right after that, one of my favorite guys is a guy named Justin Mosteller, and he's going to be joining us after JJ Weeks. He was in a band called Carrollton, and so he's going to join us, and we're gonna talk about the new year with both of them. So hope everyone has a great day as whenever you're listening to this. But if you're listening to this after Christmas, you kind of missed it. Just hold on to it for next week. So thanks so much for being a part of this. God bless you all.
And as your blood ran down